John, I'm the editor-in-chief of this magazine, America's First Freedom, the NRA. So I try to keep up, of course, and print what NRA-ILA is doing, and you run Institute for Legislative Action. I can't keep up with everything you guys are up to. So I'm hoping we could just run through a bunch of stuff, let people know what you're doing, as important as it is, all the state people we have, federal people. National reciprocity, I mean, right there, does it have a chance of getting through the Senate? Or is that unrealistic at this point? And what else is going on?
Well, first, Frank, thanks for having me. I think it's important for our members to know, and gun owners in general to know, elections have consequences. We talk about that all the time. And on November 5th, because gun owners turned out and voted, there was a positive consequence. And we have a pro-gun president in the White House. We have a pro-gun majority in the House. We have a pro-gun majority in the U.S. Senate. And we have taken control of the ATF. And by taking control, I mean those pro-gun entities are overseeing a critical revitalization of an agency that's been more troubled, quite frankly, than anything else. So working with that, you mentioned H.R. 38, worked with Chairman Richard Hudson. It's been a long-time priority of his, a long-time priority of NRA's, because we all know your right to self-defense shouldn't end simply because you cross the state line. Where we're at right now, we have more co-sponsors on H.R. 38 than we've had since 2017. We have more than 180. Everyone knows, on a basic level, it takes 218 to get something through Congress, through the House. There may be, give or take a few if there's some vacancies, but let's say 218. If we get to the Senate, you have a 60-vote threshold. I'll worry about that when I get to the Senate. I want to get the bill out of the House. Chairman Jordan held a markup on it, came out of committee. We're going to be working with the leadership in the House, with Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Scalise, Whip Emmer, try to get a floor-vote schedule for that. So right now, we're doing what we do. We're lobbying. You get it into the Senate, and then it's available. If there's a must-pass vehicle that comes along, you never know. They could change parliamentary rules. They could change the filibuster. I don't know what the future holds. But what I know is we're going to get that into the Senate and work from there.
Positive momentum going forward. The Republican majority is so thin.
Yes.
So 222 or thereabouts.
Yeah, it's very thin. That's part of the reason I think everyone saw Elise Stefanik, great supporter of the Second Amendment. Her nomination to be our ambassador to the UN was pulled, and I think a big factor in that was the extremely slim majority. But the president wants to get his agenda through, and it's a big agenda, and they're working towards the big, beautiful bill. But we're trying to make sure there's a component on Second Amendment rights in that big, beautiful bill as well, because it can't be big and beautiful if the Second Amendment's not included. So we're actively working with the president, his staff, most importantly, working with the Attorney General and her staff at DOJ to try to further Second Amendment rights as much as we can.
Pam Bondi, they're looking at California to say, why aren't you giving pistol permits faster? Why is it taking over a year in Los Angeles County, for example?
That's right. And I was calling it creativity the other day. We're having our business meetings while we're here, and someone asked about Attorney General Bondi, and they brought up a concern that people may have heard of, some comments. I look at actions, and what we've seen so far is nothing but positivity coming out of the Attorney General and her staff. And I think it's going to get better because, as you know, it takes time to populate all of these jobs within an agency the size of DOJ. But let's look at the creativity coming out of there. Challenging the Sheriff's Department in LA on the permit delays. That's what I'm looking towards. Take a look at the going around the longtime Schumer rider that prohibited the ATF from processing those restoration of rights requests. What did DOJ do under her leadership? They figured out, well, that doesn't apply to DOJ itself in the Office of the Pardon Attorney, so they moved that action under the Office of the Pardon Attorney. And what did we see? Mr. Mel Gibson, which everybody knows was the first beneficiary of that. So I'm hoping there's plenty more out there, because restoration of rights for nonviolent felons particularly is critically important.
Seems like that would be a win even through the court system, like the Supreme Court. It looks like one of those issues. Now Trump with an executive order on D.C.
Yep.
What's up there? That's interesting. He's moving on so many fronts.
Yeah, he's looking into the permitting system in D.C. and trying to expedite those permits. We have an office on Capitol Hill, so our staff on Capitol Hill all have D.C. permits. It was not the best when it got started at all. Far from it, in fact. But the fact is, because of ILA's work in the litigation arena, you have D.C., And then I have a Maryland carry permit. I never thought I'd have a Maryland carry permit. I'm working getting a New Jersey permit because that's where I'm originally from. But that's only possible because of NRA's work in the Bruin case. I mean, it changed everything. And we brought that case from inception to completion, funded it 100%. And don't get fooled because it's titled NYSRPA, who is our state association. It was NRA's case. And I think as our members, listeners, they move on and look, you're going to see NRA's actual name on cases going forward. We did that in California on the challenge of the excise tax. We're doing that in Colorado, challenging their excise tax. We're doing that in Pennsylvania. And we're also working together with the other gun groups. First, it's the right thing to do. And if 3 or 4 of us would have filed 4 different lawsuits in the same state on the same issue, now we can file 4 different lawsuits on 4 different issues. So, you know who wins? Our members and America's gun owners. And that's all that matters to us.
Our freedom wins.
That's exactly right.
Together. Colorado.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing from that state. That's scary.
Yeah.
Any hope there? What's going on?
We got the Polis permission slip. You know, you have to take a knee and apply to the crown of Governor Polis to exercise your Second Amendment rights. That bill started out as basically a complete semi-auto ban, one of the worst we've ever seen. And then they morphed it into this permission slip, as our members in Illinois know, and they have to get a FOID card in New Jersey with an ID card, or the Maryland scheme. You know, these permission slips are unacceptable. You shouldn't have to pay a fee and do training to exercise a constitutional right. We're looking at litigation right now on that. Like I mentioned, we just filed that suit on the excise tax, their 6.5% punitive tax. But we're looking at litigation with some other partners on challenging that Polis permission slip. But we did have a successful session in New Mexico. You know, things weren't looking good there. We have a new state director there. His name's Nick Tuccio. He's doing a great job. Replaced a really long-term lobbyist for NRA, Tara Micah, who's with us for a little over 3 decades. So Nick and our head of state and local, Dan Reed, jumped right in there. It's a hot, fast and furious session in New Mexico. It's short. We got to keep an eye on it though, so stay vigilant, stay tuned to NRA-ILA.org alerts, because there may be a special session from the governor, because we know she's rabidly anti-gun.
About sensitive place restrictions. They grew out of New York. Now they're all the way over to California. Supreme Court just decided not to take a case on the issue. I know it's early in the litigation process, maybe they're letting that take place.
Yeah.
Where do you see that going?
Well, if you look at some of the litigation that's been through the Supreme Court, the term sensitive place came up, and we're seeing the states in those temper tantrum bills tried to make the whole state a sensitive place. They tried to make as many areas as possible. That doesn't, just because they didn't take that case out of New York doesn't mean we're not going to try again. And we have other trains heading that way. It's just there's a lot of complex factors that weigh in on the Supreme Court granting cert or not. Most importantly, the formula is you want to have circuit splits. That's what we have right now in the under 21 gun ban that NRA has been fighting. I think people have seen it in Florida. We've spent a ton of money there, and we're petitioning the Supreme Court for cert on that now. But there's a multi-circuit split. So different individuals in different parts of the country are under different case law. So we didn't necessarily have that to the fullest extent yet, because that was the first case that was filed post-Bruin. So I know with all the other groups, including NRA and Joe Greenlee, who runs our litigation operation, he's foot on the gas. We've filed more amicus briefs and Second Amendment cases in the last 12 months than any other group out there, and we're just getting started. So I hope everybody pays attention to that. You can go to NRA-ILA.org/litigation. You can follow the updates on the 46 current cases that we're working on through that office, and sensitive places is going to be a big part of it. And you never know. Keep watch. We're looking into NFA challenges as well. I mean, you shouldn't have to pay a tax and register your item to exercise your Second Amendment rights just because your rifle is a half-inch shorter. So it's just these ridiculous standards that are out there that are restricting our rights.
Some of the other things that are for
You're exactly right.
So many things.
And
it's
hard
busy.
To
keep up with you.
It's busy.
Big important team and everything you're doing.
Yeah.
I know you've grown too in order to meet the challenges that we had in front of us.
Yeah.
But it also feels very positive with Trump administration pushing, changes happening at the federal level.
Yeah.
Some state challenges.
That's right.
You feel hopeful about the next year or 2 years.
Absolutely. I know I'm very, very confident and optimistic first about all the changes at NRA and where we're going, but I'm also optimistic for the country and everything President Trump's doing, particularly on Second Amendment rights. And I'm also optimistic on what's going to happen in the courts. But you have to stay vigilant. I was just talking to someone a little bit ago. Good times make bad times, and bad times will come again for our rights and challenges to those rights and for this industry that we all cherish. So you have to stay vigilant. You have to stay engaged. Make sure people are signed up for our alerts. We won't fundraise from you. We just want to keep you informed so you can call your lawmaker and affect change. But keep an eye out on that Virginia election for everyone who's in Virginia. We're going to be working hard there. We got to elect a pro-gun governor to replace Glenn Youngkin. So, just vetoed 24 bills. So we know what the plan is. We just have to get people to the polls.
Well, that buzz you can hear behind us is the NRA annual meetings.
And it's packed.
That's exciting. Feel the excitement on the floor.
Yep.
We're building. Thank you for all you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate you having me.